Thing with the stuff.
I thought we were just hanging out.
We are hanging out. Welcome to oh, I forgot it's Acceptable Vices this week again. This is Acceptable Vices for February 26, 2016. Tonight, the body politic. Hey everyone, it's Acceptable Vices here on the show. Today we are going to be discussing things about politics. Nelson's going to be taking the reins mostly for this show, but I thought I'd get it kicked off. Tonight on the show, we got Adam. Hey, Adam.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on here. How's the school going? How's the school life?
It's schooling.
It's schooling.
It's a learning process.
Maybe I should ask your lovely wife how things are going with your schooling process. Here on the show, we also have Kate.
Hello.
Hey, Kate.
Hey, Victor. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. It was a beautiful 85 degrees here today.
You go, girl.
We also have George. Hey, George.
It was 40 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds today.
Which for winter is not bad.
And we have Scott Johnson. Hey, Sojo.
Is someone going to attack me so I can get a question here? Why am I introduced last? Am I last in the polls? What's going on here?
Shut up, Ben Carson.
What is the best cheesesteak?
Wait, I'm just going to fall asleep over here.
Do some brain surgery in your sleep.
We also, of course, have Nelson. Hey, Nels.
Hello. I am
Hello.
definitely not the Zodiac Killer.
No, you are definitely not. And I'm your host, happy host, Victor Frost. So, we are going to be discussing some things relating to the political status of the United States right now. Accordingly, Chirba has decided to fuck right off.
It's okay. That's what the United States political system's like right now.
Right. No, but really, Chirba is the only reason he's not here is due to a confluence of a whole bunch of different stuff. He simply couldn't make it. But because he's not here, I'm going to amp up my snark a little more just to compensate for the lack of that authentic Australian snarkiness. So, Nelson, what are we going to be talking about this week?
All right, so this debate has three very simple rules. The first section will be talking about yesterday's debate, like all debates are. It is entitled Debate What? And it was a doozy. The second section is we will talk about our thoughts for Super Tuesday and how much Trump will win and keep on winning, and then how tired we will be of him winning so much. And finally, we will end things on a positive and more divisive note by talking about Hill Dogs versus the Burninator, and how all of us are going to vote for Jill Stein.
You're a funny man.
So let's get started about the debate. What the shit?
Exactly. Next question.
It was really quite the spectacle, and for once, not due to Donald Trump. In fact, I think for the first time in the entire debate, multiple candidates went entirely pro wrestling on Donald Trump and just tag teamed him, pounding him again and again.
Well, I feel like the idea that the candidates and the media, frankly, had about there's the establishment track and there's the outsider track. They realized that that's not really a thing, if it even ever was. Yeah. And so Rubio's finally going after Trump, and everyone's kind of going after everyone else.
I kind of feel like the Republicans don't even have a real establishment candidate anymore. Like, I can't take... The only one who was not actively, like, a monster, and even he wasn't the greatest guy, was Kasich. But I don't see...
Kasich doesn't think that women are people, though. That's a problem.
Hey, that is part of the Republican platform.
That's all of them.
By comparison, he was perhaps the least vile. Now that doesn't send him out of the vile category, but I'm
That's
just
true.
saying, out of the candidates that exist, like I would have expected to see an actual like politician who wasn't just a Tea Party lunatic or Trump or Carson, because we have Trump who's I can't even I'm like a teenage girl. I can't even. And Carson has no chance because he's got no charisma and
He's asleep at the wheel. He's literally asleep at the wheel.
Literally.
He's contemplating a fruit salad. I mean,
He's, I mean,
Carson
he's-
has the energy level of a potted plant.
and he's either delusional or very, very dishonest because some of the things he says are so bizarre and so untrue that he either has to be saying them for attention or is actually that stupid, which is a little scary. But Rubio and Cruz, to me, they're like the same beast. Like they're both. There's no difference between the two of them, except one is possibly not an American-born citizen, which I don't even care about, to be honest. That's like the tiniest issue.
I like there was one point in the debate when Rubio was talking about Trump hiring like immigrant workers in Florida rather than hiring Americans, and Rubio was like, oh, like my mother, worked as a housekeeper and you wouldn't hire her, and I looked it up just quickly, and because I had a thought, and I was like, wasn't his mother Cuban? And she was.
Yeah.
Both his parents were Cuban.
And the funny thing is, both Cruz
They're the people that
and
Trump
Rubio.
is hiring.
Well, no, both
No.
Cruz and Rubio, who claim that both of their parents came and came out from Cuba. Both of their parents, they left before Castro was in power. So
Well,
and yet they kept on saying they were they were fleeing from Castro, but when really they were fleeing from the puppet leader that the United States had installed in Cuba.
Oh, sweet irony.
I don't know that much about Cuba, to be honest.
It's not great.
No,
It's not the
most
best.
of our foreign history is bad.
Cuban history aside, the fact that these guys are openly lying and nobody seems to be calling them, and when they are called on it, like when anybody calls Trump on his lies, he's just like, no, you're wrong, you're a loser and you're wrong, and then
So,
they
to
just like,
quote
Yeah.
Seinfeld
Well,
on
actually,
this now,
at last night's debate, the moderators did a better job, I think, than in previous debates in calling the Republican candidates when calling them on their lies. I mean, they were throwing very soft balls at at Trump,
They were
but
throwing marshmallows.
exactly. But they did call out each of the candidates at different times, to the best of my recollection, on certain half-truths, non-truths, avoidance of questions, things that I hadn't seen in previous Fox debates. So
Yeah, that's true. Although I have to say,
is that, to quote Seinfeld, it's not a lie if you believe it. Are they actually lying, or are they just
believe it.
legitimately so deluded that they
it
think
doesn't
that
matter if
thing
they're
is true?
telling untruths. It really doesn't matter. I think that's the thing. When you start saying, if they believe it, it's not a lie, no, that's like saying facts don't
Still stupid.
exist.
I agree, but
PolitiFact exists. People are calling them on it. It's just people aren't paying that much attention.
yeah, I read a really interesting thing today about, I think it was a Vox article about how Trump could possibly win the general election if he got the nomination.
oh,
Yeah.
don't say that. No,
And you
don't,
know
don't
why?
say that.
You know how he could?
Because Americans are fucking stupid would be the
Yes.
only answer.
Basically, yes.
I
Because
got it.
he would hard pivot to the left, right? Because just like he hard pivoted to the right in the last few years,
Yeah.
and when anyone ever called him on it, he would just be like, "Oh no, I always supported abortion. This is just who I am." And you know what? The low information voters who are undeclared voters are primarily low information voters. They would eat it up.
Yeah.
Because they would
mean,
see
the
him
fundamental
being super
problem-
reasonable, and he's personable guy. Like, he's made some jokes that I have laughed at. Like, he's made some jokes that I have said,
He
whoa.
has some positions I agree with.
I've got to say, there is nothing that has ever appealed to me about him, and that's not just in the recent debates, his political career. I'm saying, I'm not saying that all women feel this or it's a woman thing, but have you ever been walking by yourself down a street and you see a guy and he's walking on the same side of the street as you, and you're just like, I'm going to make sure my keys are in my knuckles because dude's a creep.
Yeah.
That's always been my feeling. He makes my skin crawl. He feels like a creep.
Yeah, so you're not against his position that Planned Parenthood actually does some good.
He still would defund it.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying right now.
Yeah.
You know what? You gotta go with what they're saying
No, what
now.
I'm saying, we're talking about what Nelson just said, which is that
so like
Trump
when
did to the center, can you believe? I mean, let's say if let's go with what. No, but Kate.
Supporters if he starts saying.
I know, no, but Kate, what? Yeah, but the problem is, at that point, it'll be too late.
Yeah.
So you'll either
the principle. There's a fundamental issue, and with all the respect to, we all have several reporter friends. There is a fundamental problem in the United States media industry in that because of the competitive nature, because of the commercial nature, because of how difficult it is to communicate large amounts of information to the public, the fundamental problem is that it is difficult to present a both complete and nuanced argument and set of information to your audience without just losing them.
Here's a hot take. Yeah, the public doesn't care.
No, the public wants everything really easily digestible. And there's a lot of things that just can't be digested to that level. So what you end up with is for these non-decided voters who are not only uninformed, but the avenues of information available to them are simply inefficient.
Well, hang on for 1 second. I disagree with that one point because it doesn't take a lot of depth of reporting to look at what some of these candidates are saying and go, no, that is completely wrong, and you either contradicting yourself and here's a clip, or the facts that you have are not stated literally anywhere, and here are facts contradictory to what you said.
Well, Adam, that doesn't matter, though. That doesn't matter to these voters. Realize that people that are supporting Trump right now are my dad. Somebody who sends me 3 or 4 emails every day that I send him a Snopes link or a fact check, or I show that the guy who wrote the articles said that it's all BS and he didn't write it. And it doesn't matter, because all they really care about is whatever the heck they care about. They don't even care what Trump thinks, because they've just imprinted whatever they believe on Trump. They don't care if he's been pro-choice 1 minute and then pro-life the other, because they just take whatever they like and just put that on him. There was just This American Life where they interviewed this gay Trump supporter who was who was also really Republican. He had a really conservative family and he wanted to not give up being a Republican, and because that was the last safe space for him. So they were looking into it. And he's like, well, Trump likes gay rights, so it's okay. And and he was just kind of and he cared about. He was very fiscally conservative. So when then in a debate, when Trump said, "Oh, I would totally get a judge that would go against gay marriage," the kid was like, when they went up to the kid and said, "Well, what do you feel about this?" He's like, he just said that to get elected. He doesn't feel that way. What are you gonna do? That's everything. You cannot win. It's a post-factual environment. That is why Trump is killing all the other Republicans.
And where it's not voluntary delusion, it's blind rejection, because there are lots of times where well, there are lots of my dad is turning out to be very similar to Scott Johnson's dad, and I brought him multiple. I'm so scared of that. I brought him multiple times when he said something. I said, "Well, actually, here's the evidence that completely refutes that." He says, "Well, that's just the big media biases." So
as a representative of the big media,
hold on, Nelson, just to save your ass, I think it's time for you put a disclaimer.
My views are actually fairly similar to the views of my employer. Yeah, pretty much. I think I'm actually a bit to the left of a lot of them. I'm definitely to the left of Jonathan Chait.
Who do you work for?
New York Magazine.
No.
Okay,
Some
kids.
liberal
I'm more
rag.
liberal than anyone you've ever met. I'm gonna put it out there. I'm straight up communist.
That's not, communist isn't actually liberal at that point.
Well, no, it depends. It depends on which kind. I'm Marxist. Let me put it that way. Marxist specifically.
I think we're jumping the shark a little bit. We should
I
first.
don't know
First
how
we
this
should.
relates to anything, but okay.
Yeah, let's
I'm not surprised.
let's transition to the Super Tuesday, and then we'll talk about how we're going to implement full communism.
Oh no, we didn't even talk about the debate.
That's true.
The first
We-
thing we
yes.
need to do is
We
register
gave
the
as
guns,
much facts
because
about
then
the
we can
debate
take
as
all
they
the guns
did.
away.
Can we get in a little more about this last debate, just because so much was so beautiful.
Rubio had a reboot, and he was on the ball, and then he kind of just let the ball
Go off.
Yeah.
At least he showed some personality, which he'd been criticized for not having.
That's
Well,
true.
Robo
Can I-
Rubio.
Can I rant for one little second here on the Obamacare question that was in that debate? So
Yes.
so
Please do.
Call it a
Rubio
Obamacare.
and Cruz are both like, well, you supported Obamacare to Trump, and Trump's like, no, I'd replace it the lines, and they go in a big debate about lines. But anyway, they get to a point where they're talking about pre-existing conditions, and Trump is like, I'm for pre-existing conditions, which is really funny to say.
I'm glad your grandmother had cancer once.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like,
Me.
it's like, I want people to have pre-existing conditions. But beyond that part, like, meanwhile, suddenly the debate devolved into Cruz saying, well, people, Trump going, I don't want people dying in the street, and Cruz saying, how are you going to pay for that? And I'm just like, are we really going to do it? And Rubio's like, yeah, and I'm just like, are we getting to the point where Trump is not for people dying in the street, but the rest of the Republican Party is actually for people dying in the street? Like, that is really
Kind
bad.
of a weird
How I
dystopia.
interpreted that, his phrasing was that under him, people would not, quote, die on the sidewalks,
Yeah.
which to me meant he's going to dig up every sidewalk. I mean, the solution.
Well, it's like in
Well, you
Trump's
see, he's going to dig up every sidewalk, and he's going to make it better.
Well, I would like to note that
Make
none of
it
them
gold
They didn't
and made
actually.
of boobs.
They didn't actually talk about Medicaid at that point. So, I mean,
No.
maybe that's what saves people from dying in the street. I don't know.
Medicaid for all?
Yeah, right?
Sounds okay.
For
I
all
could
of
be
it.
Medicaid.
No one wants Medicaid
gonna-
for all.
Right?
Everyone wants Medicare for all.
Yes,
let's be clear
Medicare
here.
for all. Medicaid is terrible.
Yeah, let's be
So
clear.
I'm gonna do that pesky facts thing again.
Uh-oh.
Like it's so hard to even keep up with everything that they say in the debate because so much was so
wrong.
bizarre and like not even in a realm that could be discussed of what are they even talking about? Like
Underpants and fruit salad.
and Bigley.
Yeah.
Bigley.
Have you
But-
guys seen the onions like spread on the positions of all the candidates?
Oh god, no.
Oh,
I haven't.
man.
I'm sure it's hilarious.
It's really, really good.
Is it frighteningly accurate?
It's in that way that the Onion always is, where it's accurate yet frightening at the same time. It's like this is hilarious because it's true, and that
Well, if anything, this debate just solidifies that the onion is real now.
Mhm.
Well, so is Idiocracy. I mean, the guy who wrote Idiocracy or directed Idiocracy, I forget.
No,
but he
but
tweeted like, "Yep, it's real now. It's real."
the Onion was bought by a Clinton supporter, and it's now in the bag for Clinton.
Of course.
You know,
clearly.
I think I might be more comfortable if President Camacho from Idiocracy was actually running for president.
Well,
He's a nice dude.
good
He actually
advisors.
tries to help people.
Yeah. He
Yeah, I mean, the
accepts
plan's
the
great.
advice of his advisors,
Mm-hmm.
and he funds public infrastructure projects to improve the situation.
Yeah.
That's more than any Republican would do.
And
Takes
he
the
li-
advice of his advisors. I mean, let's back up the train a moment here. So did George W. Bush.
Yeah. Yep.
And we saw where that got us.
Good point.
But at least President Camacho
No, there's
was
a difference between advisor.
Scared.
And Cheney.
There's also
When it comes
There's
to
a
Cheney,
difference.
Cheney wasn't an advisor. Cheney was a puppet up the ass controlling the.
Can we talk
Exactly.
about the Bushes for a moment? Because I find
Yes.
I always
it
like
really, really sad that
discussions about
that Herbert Walker waited until the debate where Jeb wasn't going to be there to actually show up. That is harsh.
Wow.
Wait,
Daddy, why don't you love me?
wait, can I just
Well, let's
defend
be
that for a
fair.
second?
His
That was-
sons are kind of fuck ups.
No. Can we be fair to him? He's the debate was in Texas, where he lives. He's like decrepit.
I know,
at
I
this
know.
point.
Yeah.
So I mean, he showed up because it was in Texas. I know it's funny, but it's also an old dude at this point.
Was Jeb ever a viable candidate?
No.
before he
No.
started
Well,
running. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has
Yeah.
the
Years ago.
governing experience,
When-
but
when
he doesn't
he
have
got-
the chops to get it in there.
When he got $10 million in Super PAC and he hadn't announced yet, he was viable. The second he announced, not anymore.
Any other year?
Honestly,
he
I
probably-
really think.
Okay, Kate, go.
I don't think so. I think people who hadn't lived in Florida had no clue what a sack of nothing he is. It's not even that there's much to attack. There's just not much there. He is a yes man to whatever the party line is at the moment. And he's changed his song, and he'll do whatever they say. Lower taxes, don't put any money in education, watch Florida slowly sink into the water. That's fine with him as long as he, and as his father once referred to his wife and children, the brown ones, get what they want.
There's such.
Florida is literally sinking into the water, though, isn't it?
Yep.
I know, it is. I'm not joking.
Oh, that reminds me. I should make a vacation to Key West before it's gone.
Speaking of which, did you see the polls? Did you see the poll that was released about Florida, where in most of the polls the other candidates do better against Hillary and Sanders than Trump? In Florida, Trump does better against everybody compared to the others. So it's Florida.
Come on, Florida,
Well-
sink faster.
Yeah.
A recent poll today, a real legit poll, said that 38% of Floridians think that Ted Cruz may be the Zodiac Killer. 10% of Floridians are certain he is.
How many are thinking maybe?
38%.
I'm pretty sure Ted Cruz has killed somebody.
What are we doing?
I
What the hell is
want
our
to put it out there,
Through these policies at some point.
having
Okay.
grown up in Florida, I just want to put it out there that most of those people are not native Floridians. They're the Northerners who are losing their minds to Alzheimer's, dementia, or just drink and have moved south for the better weather.
Or heat.
Nothing wrong with moving south for the better weather. The weather is better.
Unless you move to Maryland and then you
Yeah,
get a
but when you
blizzard.
completely
South enough.
defund everything and ruin an entire state's growing infrastructure, because look back in the 60s and the 70s, they had some better schools for the South. They had a great infrastructure. They had a progressive environmental plan. All the Northerners moved down, and guess what? That went away because they didn't want to pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So my last point of
Adam's
my last point from the I agreed with Trump on this issue, oddly, came when they were talking about Israel and the Middle East, where suddenly, in the middle of talking about how they all love Israel, which is pretty typical.
They really love it.
Yeah, they really love Israel. Rubio suddenly says, well, the whole Israel-Palestinian thing, there's no negotiation possible. We can't do anything. We just have to support Israel and, F everybody else. And I just was like, what? Really?
What?
And Trump goes like, I'm a negotiator. That's what I do. Everything's a big negotiation. This might be a really hard negotiation, but everybody wants something, and we'll get them to the table and figure it out. And I was like, wow.
They want the same piece of land.
Well, yeah,
other people to go away.
Someone was like, "Oh, it's not a real estate deal, Trump."
Yeah, and he's like, "Well, actually, it kind of is."
Sort of. I mean, negotiating about a piece of land that both people want,
and we are arguably supporting the corrupt dictatorship. Almost.
This is something that I've noticed that Trump does a lot whenever he's stating a position or saying what he's going to do. He'll say, I'm just going to do X. I'm going to bomb them. I'm just going to build a wall. I'll do this. I'll do that. This is going to happen. But he doesn't actually present any way of actually doing it.
No.
He just says, this is a thing that's going to happen when I'm president, and there is literally no plan there. And it's
just like Bernie Sanders.
I think it was
powers.
But I think it was either
Trump is the sharp,
but it was something like
Trump is the Charlie Sheen of candidates.
Yes.
He's winning.
Agreed.
He's winning.
He's winning. Hey,
There's no.
Adam, you posted on Facebook today about how he's going to change the laws so that the journalists can be libeled. And
that was.
I thought that was so freaking hilarious because, one, it goes both ways. So he's going to get in plenty of trouble over that one. Megyn Kelly is going to sue the shit out of him.
But when Trump is president,
has no power
she's going to be in
any such law.
camp.
Yeah. I mean, how's she going to sue him from a detainment camp?
Yeah.
Well, there's currently a lawsuit against Trump that's going to trial in the spring or summer based on the Trump University. He created a university that, by the standards of pretty much every state except maybe Florida and South Carolina, isn't actually a university. It was basically a seminar. And it wasn't accredited, and he's now being sued for it, and it's going to go to trial this spring or summer because the judge has had it on his docket for 5 years and said, I'm done with this nonsense.
Yeah, it's obvious fraud. That's my non-legal opinion.
But what happens to his candidacy after that? Will that impact his candidacy?
No.
Probably not.
No.
I don't know. I honestly
As
don't
Trump
know.
said, and I think he's correct, he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and he would
increase. He would increase in popularity.
Somehow that would increase his
Except
popularity.
that as soon as there were criminal charges, doesn't it automatically halt his campaign?
Yeah, but the problem
Doesn't the rules
is you
It's
are
nothing to do with the support of the people.
guys, you're missing a point here. The suit is not against Trump; it's against his corporation. So no matter what, he's not going to actually be charged. His corporation will be charged with something.
So
It's
what
a
you're
corporation
the civil suit. That's what I'm talking. That's just a civil suit. But when the statement of Trump shoots someone, that's not Trump's corporation shooting so much as much as he might want to call
That's him being a blowhard, okay? I mean,
So what you're saying is that we need to put a gun in Trump's hand and make him really angry.
Well, we just need to put a gun in Trump's hand and see what happens next.
I don't really think
No, you know what I'm saying?
It's like giving a monkey an AK-47.
You know what I'm saying? Is you need to put his daughter in a bikini in front of him and then film that shit, because that's not going to fly with the
that's just
conservative.
Are you sure? The Duggars.
Okay.
Exhibit A.
Yeah.
I would.
He said it.
I would say that the conservatives, as much as they love talking about senses of propriety,
Incest?
would not be affected by
No.
that.
Trump boning his daughter?
they would be like, "Oh yeah, he fucking got some." Blah. That is what they would be like.
She is kind of hot.
Yeah, that's what they would be like.
I was
Can
watching.
we move on to Super Tuesday now?
Yeah.
All right, let's move.
The Trump Variety Hour has now come
All
to
right.
a close.
Well, no, we're going into Super Tuesday.
It's gonna be super. It's gonna be Trump, and Clinton's gonna win.
And it's going to be next week also. Oh, man.
I know, right? Tuesday.
Yep.
Like super. But then really,
It's like
really the
literally
better
next Tuesday.
the better date is like the next week when like some states that actually people care about vote. Like the 15th.
Yeah, but that's not super. That's the Ides of March. You're supposed to beware them. Because that's when Trump solidifies his majority, and then we're screwed.
But the
Do
real
you really
question
think it's going to be
is,
Clinton at this point?
who is
I believe-
challenging?
yeah.
Is it going to be
Because
Bernie?
Even
or is it
in
gonna be
light
Trump?
of today's issues that came up with her previous statements about bring them to heel,
Yes.
No, yeah, whatever.
I believe it is going to be.
you don't think she's going to lose black support?
No.
I don't think she will.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, if there was any statement that was going to cause her to lose black support, it was her statement, and a young lady brought her to task on this. It was a statement she made years ago, calling.
In
I think-
passing some pretty horrible legislation, though. It has
horrible
impact today.
Horrible legislation and calling black people super predators.
Mm-hmm.
Super predators.
Who have been found not to exist.
Wait,
That's
yeah.
something that doesn't exist.
Can they
Yeah.
see in UV?
Now, granted, Hillary has come out recently and apologized for that and stated that that is not her view, and then if she went back and it was the her from today, she would absolutely not say that, obviously.
Super predators.
I know.
Yeah.
That's
The
just-
90s were.
Could we go back to before we start killing people for their statements in the 90s? Can we note that like if you watched any sci-fi, they pictured any time after the 90s to be some post-apocalyptic wasteland because of the crime that had started in the 80s and 90s. Like people really in the 80s, 90s, we really, white people especially, really thought everything was going completely to crap.
Well, statistically, it was.
And it was on a crime level, yes. If you're looking at crime.
There was also a lot of fear mongering going on because the crime rates, while high in certain areas, were not in others.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that
And
was
a lot of the
perception.
measures that we took, a lot of measures that we took, including that legislation, including a lot of what happened in New York City in literally just busing homeless people to a farm in the north and setting them free with $10. A lot of these people who are genuinely sick individuals, and I don't mean like sick evil, I mean they need to be in an institution and get help. I mean, that's how we dealt with it. It's not like, oh, the problem went away. It's we made different problems.
No,
Yeah, and
literally
also that's
swept the
still-
problems under the rug.
That's still how a lot of cities deal with their homeless populations.
That's how
To the-
San
to this
Francisco
day,
deals with homeless people.
Yeah. We've learned nothing.
No. No.
but we're at a different time.
Anyway, so everyone thinks it's
Anyway.
really going to be Clinton and not Sanders.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's gonna be Clinton.
I think
100%,
that it's
except
a
for
toss-up
Barack.
between Sanders and Clinton. I think that it's still a toss-up between Sanders and Clinton. I don't think
yeah,
that.
I mean,
I
they
even
are
feel much as
polling.
I think if you look at the
out of the
data,
caucuses,
it's hard to
they're
say
coming
that.
they're really close out of the caucuses. I mean,
think Super Tuesday will be the decider. If Bernie doesn't pull it out
Yeah, that's the thing. 'cause
Tuesday, he's done.
yeah.
Still the presumed nominee
That's true.
until he
Yeah, but-
gains momentum.
No, see
Until
here's
his
the thing.
political revolution comes.
Yo, you're.
I
Here's
am
the-
a
here's
big
the- here's
supporter of
the-
his
here's your
political
problem.
revolution.
Look.
I really want this to happen.
I would
Here
love
is the
it to happen.
problem. Here's the problem with Bernie Sanders' political revolution. If you look at all the primaries that we've had so far, Democratic turnout is lower than in 2008 and even 2012. So I mean, you're talking about a revolution that's not even getting as many voters as electing, Obama the second time. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And can we be honest that the revolution is not a revolution? It's a return to the principles and political structure that we had in the 1950s and 60s, except now we're going to be nice to women and black people, too.
well, I don't know. I'd hesitate to compare ourselves to the
It's currently a
50s.
revolution.
All right, hang on, guys.
Yeah.
Let's go
One at a time.
shall we, children? Scott Johnson, go.
Oh, what am I supposed to say at this point?
He's done.
No, I mean,
George,
no,
go.
I just said something.
I'll go.
Fine, Nelson.
All right.
I
So
get my turn.
I'll
You're
attack
done,
you, don't
sir.
worry.
You're done.
So here's my thing. I am very far left, right? I imagine a lot of us are pretty far left. Clinton has a lot of. Clinton is a warmongering neoliberal, person, but she is highly competent. Like, she is perhaps the most experienced, candidate for president in quite a while. She's also not good. She's friends with Henry Kissinger. Like, she's bad. She's not good. Bernie is moderately liberal. Like, he's in the mainstream of contemporary liberal thought. He hasn't said how he would implement things, how he would get this, get people involved. Because he says, "Oh, I'll get people involved," but he hasn't even said how. And we've looked at turnout numbers. It's not happening yet, and it doesn't seem like it will happen. It might, The thing for me is that neither candidate has answered the very fundamental question of, given an obstructing Republican Congress, how will you get things done? Will you resort to executive action? If so, how will you balance the need for executive action with the potential for executive overreach, as we've obviously seen in past regimes?
Well,
Like,
Clinton actually did address that in a really interesting way, in a proactive way, really, in saying that if she becomes the Democratic candidate, because she has so much power and money, I'm paraphrasing, but so much power and money and establishment and cred, that she can bring much, much more to the table when it comes to because we have a lot of seats up at the same time as a presidential election, which is very, very rare. So there is the potential for gaining a lot of ground when it comes to particularly the Senate, not so much the House, mostly because of gerrymandering. But she's come up and said, with my name recognition, not only can I win this, I can help us win back the Senate. And that's really
a good point.
A big point in her favor. And I'll be honest, I'm not super enthusiastic about either Democratic candidate. But I'm also not bemoaning either of them either. They're not my ideal, but I'm okay with that. I'm an adult, and I accept the fact that ideals aren't going to happen. She can get it done, and I respect that. Doesn't mean I'll necessarily vote for her in the primary, but if she's the candidate when it comes, to the big day, I will definitely tick that box.
Well, I mean, it's no matter who ends up winning the Democratic ticket, I'm the same way. Like, if I vote for Bernie and Hillary wins, I would happily vote for Hillary and vice versa. I also think that seeing the alternative as being, the candidate for Brando, it's very important that everybody get out and vote for whoever wins.
It's very
And moreover,
We all know that I think everybody knows there's that one guy, and you know who you are, one guy, who says, well, if I don't get my candidate, then I'm just not going to vote, and that'll show everybody. It's like, yeah, great. Well, what happens if, like I said, Brando wins? Then we're all fucked, and it's partially your fault.
Yeah. Here's an
Oh, Canada!
Hey,
all right.
real quick, going back on the primary, since we're talking about Super Tuesday, Here are the states, and we'll just go. I'll go through the states, and we'll just quickly say who we think is going to win each one.
Ooh, this will be fun.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
fun.
and a note that the majority of these states that actually matter are southern states.
Yay!
So first on the list is, in alphabetical order, Alabama.
Clinton.
Clinton.
For Democrat.
Clinton.
I think
I
Clinton.
haven't a blessed clue.
It's going to be Clinton
Cruz.
and Trump. Note that I'm going to say Trump for every one of these.
I could see it going for Cruz. I could see it going for Cruz.
Alabamans are fucking crazy. They're crazy like foxes. They're
Well,
crazy like
I would hesitate you guys to look at the polling data on Alabama before you exactly, make a bet. If you want to make a bet, that's cool.
We're gonna have none of this looking at data.
Yeah,
We're gonna go
what
with-
is this is a primary, sir.
I don't have all this stuff written. I don't have all this memorized. The Alaska caucus for the Republicans.
Oh, Trump.
See, actually, that's one where
Trump because they don't know anyone else.
No, Trump because
Alaska.
Trump is as bat crap loco as what's her face was, and I
Palin.
think
Oh yeah, she endorsed him.
Yeah, but you know what? Alaska doesn't really like Palin.
Yeah,
anymore.
don't they hate her?
Yeah, they're not a big fan.
that doesn't matter.
Oh, wait,
she was,
wait.
look at the
This is-
last election. She was so freaking stupid in the last election. Nobody could stand her. Even her own party was like, "Look, lady, shut up. You're ruining everything."
I'm
But
pretty
that
sure-
didn't stop her or anybody else from voting for that party. People
I'm
still
She had
voted for
notes
them.
written on her hand.
I feel really bad for her husband,
I'm pretty sure that Trump.
He's a
was
dick,
embarrassed. I'm
but I
pretty
also
sure-
feel bad for him.
I'm pretty
No,
sure,
they deserve each other.
Yeah.
guys, I'm pretty sure that Trump was embarrassed by Sarah Palin's endorsement when he
Of
gave.
course he
You could just
was.
see him over in the corner going like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Oh,
At
what
the
did I
same
do?
time,
It was really that she
at the
just
same
wouldn't
time,
stop
I
talking.
think. At the same time, I really do think that her being that crazy made him look somewhat sane.
That's
it's
true.
It did. It was good.
That's
it was good. So
That's the same thing with the David Duke endorsement.
the next
David
primary
Duke
on
endorsed
this.
him?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Alright,
The next primary on this list that's also hilarious, the most important one probably, is America Samoa, the
Ooh.
Democratic caucus.
For Democratic?
Yeah,
Bernie.
only the Democratic.
Bernie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. American Samoa gets to actually vote
In the primary.
in the primary.
in the primary.
You know why?
They get 10 delegates.
They're going Bernie because Clinton is not friends, but not enemies with Tom DeLay. And Tom DeLay fucked American Samoa.
Wait.
Terrible.
How's Hillary Clinton friends with Tom DeLay? Let's not talk.
She's
I have
done a
no
lot
idea what you're
of
talking about.
work with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the next one is Arkansas.
No, Clinton.
Clinton. Come on.
Yeah, Bill Clinton. Did you say Bill Clinton?
Yeah.
They're just gonna vote for a saxophone.
The Democrats abroad get the vote on Super Tuesday.
Sanders.
Sanders.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Tuffy.
Georgia is
Georgia?
not going to vote for Clinton, I don't think.
Georgia is
Georgia
definitely
gets
going
either
to
way.
vote for Clinton.
Uh,
Georgia, the
Tough.
latest polls in, let's see, the latest polls
Georgia
in
is so red except for Atlanta.
But can we say that most
68
polls
to 22. No, let me just note.
have been terribly off?
No, they haven't been horribly off. The Clinton,
Well.
the latest poll in Georgia is 68 to 22 for Sanders. So that's a 40
Really?
case. That would be a state to win like New Hampshire was for Sanders,
Yeah. Huh.
but with a lot more delegates.
I believe Sanders in the moment.
So, yeah. The next on the list is the one that's contentious, which would be Massachusetts, which I still think that Clinton pulls off Massachusetts. It's really close,
Yeah.
but I
Very
feel like
close.
he's going to pull that one off.
Wasn't Elizabeth
yeah.
Warren
I would
in
say
jail for
very close, but-
Massachusetts, though?
55,
looking at
45
some-
Sanders.
Yeah, I'm looking at some polls right now. Massachusetts, the Republican, who do you think it's going to be?
Trump.
It's pretty close, but it's going to be probably Trump.
I think it's going to be Trump.
Bostonians are
It's
just
not
asshole
close
New
at all.
Hampshires.
They're having him at 45, and
Yeah.
everyone else,
Like Volt.
significantly behind.
Yeah, I
I'm
would
gonna
like
say
to see. You know what?
the
I'd like
echo-
to see Ted Cruz walk down a street in the Southie Projects.
I gotta tell you,
Like to
the
see
echo
that
chamber, the social media echo chamber my dad lives in, and to which I'm referring to primarily all of his Facebook friends, Most of them are Republicans in Massachusetts, and there is a lot of them. So, and they're all going towards Trump. So I'm going to say Trump in Massachusetts.
I don't know what Trump has said that these people like so
They're business people.
What
and
he
I
said
think
that these people
honestly,
like is
half
that
of
he's
it
going
is
to
name
bomb down people.
recognition.
Yeah.
Half of it's name recognition.
These are
It's
people
celebrity.
who own several of his books.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that,
I
I
don't-
actually have had some guy yell at me saying that I haven't read his book. If I read his book, I would understand the brilliance of
Did
Trump.
he write his book?
No!
No, he goes. It
All
was
books are
ghostwritten.
ghostwritten.
It was ghostwritten in the
And he's not
80s.
shy about that either.
Part of the deal.
Which,
All I need to know about Trump is that he has said he would bomb the shit out of other countries. He has said he would try to deport mass numbers of Americans based on their religious and a religious litmus test. He said he would build a wall with one of our neighboring countries, which is in fact an impossible task and would bankrupt our country. And then he said he would make another country pay for it through, I guess, using some magic gnomes. Because
Negotiation.
there's no way that Mexico's just going to be like, oh, all right, Trump, you're such a winner.
Oh,
Here's a
all
truckload
right.
of money. Okay. So, like,
In fact, Mexico-
all you have to
didn't
do is
Mexico
listen to
come
his
out-
comments.
Didn't the
However, in
president of
Massachusetts, I would like to note that the polls have Sanders slightly ahead of Clinton.
55-45?
It's looking. I mean, I'm looking at several polls here,
Sounds
though.
like less.
The most favorable is 49 Sanders, 42 Clinton. The
Wow.
least favorable that has him above is 46.3 to her, 45.7. So
That's
very,
pretty close.
very, very close.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
What's the next state?
Virginia.
Virginia.
Oh.
I would say
Yeah.
Cruz.
I'm going to
Apparently,
say...
I'm looking at some polling data, and Clinton is going to crush Sanders
Yeah.
in Virginia.
Here's
That's
the
not
thing.
surprising either.
Sanders has not been stumping a lot in the South. He just hasn't.
Well, Sanders is running a primary campaign and not, I guess, a real campaign. Like,
None of them.
if you look at their spending, Sanders is burning money fairly fast because he needs to kind of get the momentum up, whereas Clinton is not burning as much money. She also has more money, like
A lot
she has a
more.
lot. She has a lot of money, but from what people have told me, her spending patterns imply that she's saving up for the general, which makes sense. Whereas Sanders isn't really that much.
Well, if she learned anything from Obama's run, one of the things that Obama talked about way back before he even won the first time is that one of the ways he won elections was he would just sort of be not as intense in the beginning, and then the last couple of weeks or the last month before the election, he would dump all of his money and all of his funding and everything into that. And that's exactly what he did both times. If you remember, he had that half an hour long commercial.
That was
Half
amazing.
hour. That was brilliant. I was like, oh my god, he said he was going to do it in his book, and now he did it. And it was just amazing because he did it both elections. He waited until the very end. So Clinton may be taking notes from that and waiting until like October, and then maybe she's going to release this giant wave of campaign funding. Of course, if Bernie's smart, he might be waiting to do that also on a national level if he wins. So
You know what?
it's hard to tell.
I would like to play Barack Obama at Netrunner. I think he'd be good.
Really,
I
of
think
all
it's
the
gonna
things you
be-
could do with Barack Obama, that's what you'd want to do.
Well, but you play him, and while you're playing, you discuss things, and you have a
Like
nice
butt
chat.
stuff.
Is that
Stop
going to be
stealing my thing!
president.
Stop stealing my thing!
Nelson? Is that your super nerdy version of comedians in cars having coffee?
Why is butt
Yeah.
stuff your thing?
Oh, you missed on my tweets last night. It was all like hashtag GOP, hashtag butt stuff, hashtag women party. I really just wanted there to be a horrible lemon party.
I step away for like a second, and we're talking about
We're like giant children. You got to monitor us at all times.
Oh, yes, Scott.
but I'm a
All right,
parent.
what's the next state?
God, the next state, Minnesota's caucus.
Minnesota.
Minnesota's
Oh, yeah.
caucus.
It's gonna be.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing.
I don't know if this is about Sanders, though.
That was perfect, George.
I think you might actually win the caucus just from that.
I mean, if Sanders is going to pick up a state that's kind of not Vermont and not Massachusetts,
According to the
Minnesota would
polls,
be the.
according to the polls, it goes Clinton big time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they've got her in the 50s to just shy of 60, and him in the 20s.
Yeah. Whenever a candidate's over
You know why?
50%,
You know why? Because she did that Vine where she was like just chilling. That's how she wins.
What was it like?
2016, the Vine election.
What was it like? Lol hashtag Minnesota.
No, it was Hillary Clinton, and it was her saying a cup with that logo on it, and then she came on and said just chilling in Cedar Rapids, and that's it. That's the whole thing.
Hillary
Oh,
Clinton
this is
needs to
stupid
work on her
fucking
media
thing.
face.
I don't know. I think it was brilliant. I think it was a true paragon of the form.
So I'm just gonna move to the states that actually are interesting that are left.
Yeah, go ahead.
Texas and Virginia.
Next to Trump in a second.
Well, no. I mean, Texas right now is neck and neck because Ted Cruz comes from Texas, so he has a home state advantage. But
He
the
came
polling
from Canada.
there has been he came from Canada. That's true. But Canada can't vote in our primary yet.
I mean, this shows Cruz coming out in front of Trump pretty consistently, but only by a very small margin.
Mm-hmm.
In the polling data that I'm looking at, they have him
Yeah,
in.
well, the important part about the Super Tuesday is this is really like the last date that all the primaries are proportional. So, like, getting close to if Cruz and Trump get close to each other in Texas, they'll probably get around the same amount of delegates, and that's dividing 155 delegates, which is a huge number. Huge number in the Republican primary so far. And then after that, states are allowed to be winner take all, and that's where you have like states like Florida and stuff like that that actually are winner take all and become a big deal. But I mean, Texas is going to be the one to watch. I mean, Vermont. I mean, that's going to be a blowout for Sanders.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I
it was
don't
like.
know. That Clinton.
Yeah. Virginia, I assume, is going to go towards Clinton. In terms of the Republican side, I really think Trump has a chance of winning every single Super Tuesday. I mean, the only ones that are like really risky are Texas.
Well, here's my biggest fear, and my biggest fear is that not only does Trump win, like let's assume that Trump wins the whole shebang for the Republicans, right? So he's going to be the candidate, which I sadly think is going to be a possibility, which says a lot about our country. But I have a feeling that the kind of people that he has whipped up into this Trump frenzy that seems to follow him around, I have a feeling that if he gets the nomination, and if he either wins or loses after that, I think there's going to literally be like riots in the streets if he loses, and riots in the streets if he wins from the same people either way. That's my fear.
I don't feel that with people.
Wait, are you
think
saying
there's
that Trump's
many people that
candidacy?
support him.
Are you saying that Trump's candidacy is going to amount to a hockey game?
Yeah.
That sounds about right, actually.
No, see, here is the situation that I think will be really beneficial for whoever the Democrat is. What might happen is if, let's say, Cruz actually does well in Texas, and Rubio manages to pull it off in Florida, which who knows?
Rubio's going to win in Florida.
No, I don't think. Yeah, third place win. Yeah. So if for some reason Trump cannot get the delegates he needs to win, and somehow the Republican Party during the second round of voting in the convention doesn't pick Trump, and Trump just goes, I'm going to run as an independent, then
please,
it will be a disaster. unbeknownst to me. Like we've never seen before.
Like freaking Roosevelt all over again.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't see a situation where it isn't another disaster for the Republicans. I mean, either way.
If only they put forward a serious candidate. I would love for it to be difficult for me to be like, oh man, both parties have such good candidates and they all have really good ideas. Who am I going to vote for? But it's never that. It's like, oh, this one candidate looks pretty good, and this other, oh my God, they've hired a bunch of lunatics. What are they doing? Like it's never like a difficult decision
Yeah,
ever.
where's the Eisenhowers?
Unfortunately, and here's the thing. The problem is, I think the only way that would happen, that you actually have two parties that are, geez, which one do I want to pick from? They both sound really interesting, would be if Trump won the presidential election. Because if Trump wins the presidential election, it would be so bad. The Republican Party would have this incredible, crazed new precedent, new level of crazy that apparently works, that every other more moderate Republican will split up and they'll make a new Bull Moose party or something. It would form this crazy new third party. It'd be crazy.
Well, what happens if Trump gets elected and he turns out to be a moderate?
That'd be a little underwhelming.
Well, but a moderate what?
If Trump gets elected, I mean, seriously, he doesn't even have the most basic understanding of what
English?
the president actually does.
Or English.
Well, yeah, but neither did George W.
I'm picturing my dad's head exploding if Trump was elected and was a moderate.
No, you know what?
But a moderate what? Because in American politics, it's really difficult to even use the terms right or left because it's right and really right. Because there's really not a left in the American. When you look at global politics, American politics doesn't. There's no left. There's none.
There's right and center, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, let's say he turns out to be a moderate Democrat.
We actually talked about that. Like, let's get a
corporatist.
Like, let's get a lot of money together, run as a candidate.
That's just a Koch brother. That's a Koch brother wannabe.
I would bet though that those people that supported him would carry on supporting him. Because I don't believe that actually, you're all like, oh, their heads would explode. I think they would just see everything he did as golden. Just like how my dad sees everything Obama does as bad, regardless of whether
I think
I don't know. Or not.
I want to hear from George.
My dad was like that about George W. Bush, and in the end, he did turn on Bush.
Really?
What were you saying, George?
I think the support of Trump, I think it doesn't really matter what Trump is his support is an anti-establishment base. These are the people who just are fed up with everything that American politics is, and they want a guy who isn't.
Right, and they're willing to elect a guy so they can find an excuse to shoot brown people, because those are the ones causing the problems.
You know,
I didn't say this was good logic. I said I think this is the logic of his supporters.
George, I think you're right.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they're brown shirts, basically.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're just, they're just fed up with anything. They just don't.
I think on the other side, the people who are supporting Sanders, and I don't think they're gonna. Admittedly, it's not looking like it's gonna happen now, but I think the same sort of people on the other side of the spectrum are pushing Sanders to compete with Hillary, because no one thought in a million years 6 months ago he was going to get this far.
I don't think it is just necessarily an anti-establishment group pushing for Sanders, because you're actually it's really honestly a big part of it is young college-educated people or people who are currently in college, and it's not about I'm going to be anti-establishment. It's what's going to help me when I get out of college and can't find a job because we're still in a failing economy. Oh, and if I do find a job, good luck being able to pay rent with it. Yeah. I really think that's where it's coming
Can we get over the failing economy thing for a second? If you look at the rest of the world is falling apart economically, and the United States isn't doing great, but we're doing better than a majority of the rest of the world at the moment.
Well, it depends. Are you talking quality of life?
If you're talking about quality of life, yeah, and almost every standard, we are doing better. Like, look, China is about to go into probably a depression. Like, Europe is just like a big mess at the moment. And then, the rest of the world beyond that, you don't want to live half of those places.
Quality of
but
life.
I'd rather live in a lot of Europe.
I think you're
Europe's
glossing
better.
over a lot of issues. And
No, we have issues. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying.
no, I think you're glossing over a lot of nations there where the economy is actually equally as strong or maybe less strong, but they're able to feed their people and make sure that they have housing and healthcare and basic necessities.
Yeah, like Italy is no utopia.
By any means, they have a fucked up economy.
Yeah.
I was going to say, what are you talking about?
Italy is incredibly fucked and got Italy versus the euro did not turn out well for Italy.
Nope.
But the rates of the living standard there is still not bad. It's not like trying to live in the United States. Like, you can get food in Italy. You can, travel in Italy. Like, you're only traveling this much, but, like, they have public infrastructure. Like, there is still free water in Rome. Like, the water fountains in Rome.
Filled with lead.
Yeah. That water has been perfect for the last 2,000 years. And you just go, you're thirsty? Oh, here's a little water fountain. There you go.
That's actually sort of a misnomer about Rome, is that the water wasn't full of lead. They put lead on their food as a sweetener.
Yeah.
No, I mean.
Yeah. But yeah, countries.
I know where you're going. It's
Not all
it's
countries.
fine, really.
Hashtag not all countries have public infrastructure, but a lot of countries' public infrastructure is better than the United States, and is more well maintained because
We also note that those countries are infinitely smaller than the.
They are smaller, but they also allocate their resources per capita. They spend more money on it.
And they're
also,
infinitely
we have
more
things
dense.
called states that we could then have the overarching government then administer down to, and then you have these smaller populations that you could then, administer all these services to. Isn't that great that we compartmentalized our country that way? Oh, no state actually wants the government to say, you should do blah or you should do blah, but they do want us to pay for everything in the states that can't afford anything? No, I don't think so.
That's
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I
a
would
pretty
like to know, in
common
terms
problem
of,
everywhere in the world, though.
Depending on what you're looking at, standard of living, we're still in the top 20 or 10, depending on how you're looking.
It depends on what you're looking about.
I know, but I'm saying okay. So Switzerland's above us, Sweden, Germany.
Well, no, but on what aspect? On our homeless? On
I don't know. Their HDI.
Our lack of food? On our lack of healthcare? On our lack of supporting young mothers? There are a lot of places where we're not even close to top 50. It depends on what aspect of life you're concerned with.
Where are we out of the top 50?
It depends
Majority of our rich
Okay, I just wanted to call you on your hyper.
Unpaid family leave?
Okay,
Unpaid
all
family
right.
unpaid family
We are
leave is pretty high.
at present skewing a bit away
A bit.
from the overall premise of the discussion. And you know what? Honestly, we've been at this for a little over an hour, so I think this may be a good place to bring the overall conversation to a close until next week, when the results of all this Super Tuesday drama have finally come to a head, and we
It'll
can
be just
dig
an
in a
hour
bit
of everybody weeping, is what it will
That's good radio.
be.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for this amazing discussion. I don't think we've had quite as lively a discussion while still maintaining a level of coherency in a while. So thank you for that. Thank you, Adam, George, Kate, Nelson, Skojo, for another amazing show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nelson.
Thanks.
It's been lovely.
And you will hear from us next week on Friday Night Party Line when we bring you our apparent weep fest regarding the results of Super Tuesday. I'm Victor Frost, and you'll see us next time on Friday Night Party Line.
Bye.